Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Equine Town Hall number 58. It's 13th of October, and we're looking forward to bring you the latest updates on all things Equine NFT. This time, I'm joined by the lovely co-host Mark.
Hi everyone.
I say co-host, but also esteemed co-founder of Equine. As usual, we'll give a few minutes for people to join the stream, those who are not already following us and waiting on their devices. And the link is live. Thank you, Rachel. Hello, Boscat. Great to see you around as usual. Hi, Gary. Hi, Gary. For some reason, I wonder if I'm dyslexic. I just read the L-E at the end of your name in the middle of the Gary. Let me turn on the AC. I'll be back in a minute. Okay. So we'll be starting the update in about 2 more minutes. Just giving people a chance to come and join us live. Okay. All right, we'll be starting with the update then without further ado. Just an audio check. I hope everything is okay. Yeah, it seems very good. Hi, recruiter. Thank you for joining despite your being ultra busy. Yes, Gary, we actually have some updates on it's one of the main actually subjects for the update today. So we'll be coming with that very soon. Actually, right now. All right, so we're gonna talk about dev updates. We're gonna talk about the private beta test, and then we're gonna talk about the invitational, which actually coincides with that, and then we're gonna take some AMA questions. And going on to the dev side of things, this list will show you mainly the web dev side of things, which is there's been a lot of improvements and changes on the race pages that we have on the platform now. So things related to countdowns and race crews. So for example, there's a live countdown that you can see on the race pages. Things like automatically showing the race status. Again, this is taken for granted, but in the original version, you basically needed to refresh to see status updates, which doesn't really make sense with a dynamic game. So anyway, these were things that are targeted to be done. On the nomination and acceptance side of things, we've updated so that it properly shows the nominated horses that you have. Uh, Displaying, for example, all of users' nominated horses. If there's more than one, with basically any mock, let's say, placeholders that we had on these pages, the target was to remove that mock data and replace it with actual data. So for the most part, that's already been covered. There are some double titles in some pages. We've changed a few buttons and what they do. We've also changed something where in the public platform later on, and now in the beta platform, not all pages should need you to be logged in. As in, you don't need to have a wallet that's connected to the game to be able to do everything. Watching the race, let's say, looking at the race list and watching races, for example, shouldn't be restricted to users. Only things like managing your horses and joining races, etc., should be restricted to users. So we want people to be able to spectate, for example, even if they don't own horses. So that we've already fixed, so that it behaves correctly in that aspect. We've already implemented the jockey UI, as in if you remember on the stables page, you can configure your jockeys. So now we've done it in a way where if you've selected the jockey, it will be passed on to the race. We still need to test that a bit more thoroughly, but the main, let's say, implementation or functionality is there. So that's some things. On the race viewer side of things, there's been actually a few major milestones. One of them is we've successfully and correctly supported multiple track definitions, meaning multiple courses. I don't mean anything other than Yara Garden, even though that is already planned to be done. But what we have now is having the different distances that have been defined earlier, but now are actually functional in that if you pass the correct distance, it will behave correctly. That includes spawning the gates, calculating the finish position, all of that stuff. And then we also finally have a well-functioning camera logic that is adaptable to different race distances. So no longer that situation where you have the camera starting in a very odd situation or position, and then manually moving it or doing stuff like that. It's actually pretty good. Last update we had the camera kind of panning throughout the different views, and it was constantly panning and was a little bit, let's say, annoying to watch. But we've already improved that so that the behavior is already fairly smooth in that it pans when there's a turn, but if it's a straight, it kind of moves along. So it actually, it's not perfect yet, but I think it's very serviceable. It's very usable. That's on that part of dev side. On the prizes and winnings pages, so the prize display of races is now based on the 90% of total entry fees, as in the prize pool. But we need this to be instead actually specific, or that it actually calculates a specific, let's say, number. And the winnings page also, now they show the correct, let's say, value. That's mainly it in that aspect of things. On the blockchain side, let me see if I'm missing any other updates. On the blockchain side of things, we've done quite a few things actually. One of them is supporting the jockey flow again. So we've already made the jockey data stored basically through the blockchain or through the database, but via the blockchain transaction. The other thing we did recently was we've already implemented support for multiple validators. What that means is that even if we upgrade to a new version, things that were posted on the earlier version will not completely be disabled. We used to earlier have a situation where every time we update, the smart contract address is changed. But what that would also lead to is that everything that's from the past version will no longer work or would be stuck. That was a stuck scenario that we had. So we've already updated that so that we can access, for example, the horses from the past versions. What's working in progress right now? Is one, we're implementing a query so that, say, for example, now I have 5 horses that are unclaimed. So claiming is a thing of the past, actually, unless you incorrectly send horses. So if you enter your horses correctly, you shouldn't have to claim your horses. They'll be sent back to you. If you had entered your horses before this was a thing, then your horses will not be claimed. So you need to claim them. And the problem is now to do claiming, you will need to actually identify the transaction that you did back when you entered the horse to be able to claim it. So you're implementing a function that we actually need is as a user, you should always be able to query the website or ask the website to tell you which of your horses are unclaimed, if any. So you should always be able to see which horses are still in the smart contract, so that you can claim them, right? Um, the other thing is on the website itself or on the page, you shouldn't be able to enter horses into the wrong races. So, say for example, there's a maiden race, and you enter a horse that has won some races, it shouldn't be eligible to enter the maiden race. Now, in the current state, you are able to do that because there's no check on the race list. So you can do that. But then if you enter the horse, it will not join. It will just be stuck there to be claimed. What we also need to do is we need to prevent users from being able to send those horses in, so that anybody who doesn't have any malicious, let's say, attempt, they shouldn't be able to actually even submit their horse into the wrong race. Therefore, their horses shouldn't get stuck. If you try to brute force your horse in, for example, then the horse will be stuck because the smart contract will, or the off-chain code actually will stop it from going through. So that's a high-level update of what's going on. We have a few other things. We have some improvements to the scheduler. We've already did some improvements, and we're doing some more now, so that the scheduler has better functionality. We've done things like added a function to clean the race schedule completely if we want to reset, for example. Earlier, it was a slightly more clunky implementation. There's a few more details, I would say, but this is just a summary of some of the things we've accomplished or that we're working on next. Just before moving on to the invitational or the beta, the core actually deadline that we have right now is for the invitational itself, and we'll announce some details now. But basically, our objective is to get that working as soon as possible so we can get people on board. So there's this issue with unclaimed horses that I mentioned. We need this to be resolved just to make sure things are smooth. Let's say a user accidentally sends their horse into the wrong race and need to claim it. We want this to be smooth before people join. Now, people were asking earlier on, will there be extra alpha that you get by being a beta tester with a clone of your actual horse on mainnet? And yes, we think that is a concern. So we said you're only going to be able to race that horse once. The way we want to do this, we're going to preset the horses so that they've already raced 4 times out of 5 per day. And we're not going to reset the daily race limit, so that once they race the one race in the invitational, they can no longer race. And then we're going to replace those horses with randomized horses. That way, you don't get that alpha, but you still get to test with some random horses. We're also trying to find an easier way so that users, when they come, even if there's other races that are available to them, that they only enter the invitational. We don't want people to accidentally use their one race on another race and then miss the chance to join the invitation. So those are a few other considerations. So we've already made a dedicated channel, and all the testers should have this role. So we'll be providing more updates over there. Please make sure that you've set up, if you're already one of the testers, please make sure that you already have your pre-production wallet set up. There's instructions that we've posted, and then we'll be collecting those addresses to give you your respective cloned horses or cloned horse. And if you need any help, just reach out to any of the team members, and we'll be happy to support you there. On the invitational, Mark, if you want to maybe take us through some of the event details.
Sure. So it will be on Sunday, October 27th, the usual time, same time as the town hall. And keep in mind that this is the UTC time. So again, same time as every town hall that we did and every invitational. So that should not come as a surprise. Obviously, we want to preface it a little bit with, right now everything is going smoothly and in the right direction. If there is any major issues, we will let you know. But for now, the date is set. One thing to those who participate, who got qualified through the process, ensure that you are available within the 24 hours leading to the race, so you can enter your horse, right? So the idea is that we want you to enter your horse, not like we did in the last one, and there will be a 24-hour window, so you don't have to rush. to do it, but make sure to do it, otherwise your horse will not participate. And making sure, of course, that means that you have to have the testnet wallet set up and everything is ready, and you have the clone horse from us ready for that. So the preparation will be a key. We cannot control that on your end, right? If you don't connect, if you don't prepare, but please try to do your best on that. There will be 5 races, each maximum 12 horses, and we decided we'll actually have multiple race length options. So people will be able to choose which one they want to go with, assuming that it's not full yet by the time they try to submit the horse. I don't know if I had anything else.
Thank you. No, that's about all we have. Bear in mind, you also need to activate your horse on the testnet and name that horse. So that will be again in the 24 hours. Should not take time. Actually, it's almost instant to name the horse. And we decided to do the different races with different distances, so that it is kind of more similar to how the game will play. In that, yes, this time we don't have handicapping or basically a class system to apply in this event. So I know some had concerns about the gap that could be between the strongest and the weakest horses. But I really hope, and I've sent a message in the beta channel, but we'll have a closer dialogue in there. But I just hope that everyone is extremely open to the nature of this event being, again, a beta test that is meant to be for user experience testing, finding major flaws and bugs that we might have not caught with our setups, but also take the whole, let's say, experience with a bit of an open-minded nature, in that there will, I think we expect there to be bugs, we expect there to be issues. On the balancing front, we actually have some great progress. So we already have a system in place that allows us to test multiple, let's say, scenarios, etc. And we're now building together some more, let's say, scripted, high volume data kind of analysis solutions to handle or approach basically the balancing of the race engine in the best way possible. So what we plan to do is we define different, let's say, categories or groups or boundaries of horse stats, and then we're going to go through logical, let's say, checks on the impact of every parameter. So things like gate bias and how much bias is there depending on whether you have an innermost or outermost gate. We're going to go through things like, for example, how does a zero stat horse perform, which is a, let's say, statistical minimum. How does a max stat horse perform in terms of timing, etc. And then how does each group or class perform? And then we look at the different stats and whether anything else needs to be adjusted in that aspect. That update is not yet actually defined, so spare us a little bit of time on that. The race viewer, I think, is in a close to ready state, at least for the invitation. It's good enough. On the web app side of things, I think we're fairly okay. We've already cloned all the horses. We're facing a bug where the new, let's say, horses that have been cloned are actually not appearing on the platform. So we're figuring that out. We have 2 weeks, so hopefully that's enough to figure that out and a few other remaining things. Some things to work out on the race schedule side of things, just to make sure things work as intended. And we have some test races that we will do internally before the invitational to make sure everything works in that side. We're optimistic that we should meet the timeline. In case we don't, we will let you know. Hopefully we'll be able to do it on time. If not, it won't be that far beyond, because this is the focus that the team has been actually working on. So it should be that far beyond that. With that out of the way, we will just handle AMA questions. One is classic question, but still very important. How far away from game launch are we? I think to be more definite, we will call it mainnet launch. We are targeting actually to be able to do the mainnet launch before the end of the year, possibly on the 3-year anniversary of 18 December 2024. If that is feasible, and if we are, let's say, comfortable that the technology is stable enough. If we have concerns about the stability, and the beta testing will tell us a lot about this, If we're not comfortable about the stability, especially of all things, we'd rather hold back until it's stable. We're very happy that the main functionality is already in place. We're very happy that we're already even implementing things like core game concepts like jockeys and distances. These were very important, race entry conditions, etc. But most important is that the system is fairly stable, so that we can launch this on mainnet. We don't want to launch code that is not stable on the mainnet, and we don't want to risk people's assets over there. So that's the main thing. I say we are targeting before end of the year. It would be nice if we can meet the 3-year anniversary, let's say, date. But please don't consider this an announced launch date. I think the beta testing and the experience will tell us a lot about how ready we are. And even if it doesn't happen within that time frame, I think it's very close. It's very obvious how close we are inching towards that mainnet readiness. So that's good. There's a few other questions actually that I think weren't in the spreadsheet. One is from DVNC. Hey, I know you all have been flat out with game dev. I'm wondering if there's been progress on discussions around whether or not there might be a separate token in the game. So yeah, circling back to that, as we mentioned earlier, we are able to support a separate token being used for transactions such as raising. What we have or had reached was we worked with the experts or advisors who are in this field. We reached the level of basically getting a framework agreement in place if we are to, let's say, assess this, which is what that token would look like and how the tokenomics kind of would look like. The framework is not the answer to that question, but it's rather how we would work together and for how long, etc. And then we kind of prioritized some of the game dev focus and left that discussion. So we owe them, I think, a follow-up on this, and that will, I think, take this forward. So we didn't really prioritize that, but I think it's probably reasonable time, even though we have the Invitational now to kind of put our focus on. I think it's also worth getting that ball rolling. So that's the answer to that. There's a question from Utero, who's with us here in the stream. I listened to a podcast this week. They were saying North Korean actors were infiltrating crypto projects. Do you guys do a good background check of your employees? Well, for one, most of our team members are technically contractors, even though that doesn't make much, I think, of a difference in this regard. However, we also work very closely with each and every individual on our team. We know them on a first name basis. We join them in video calls. We have close dialogue. So I would highly suspect that any of them is related to sanctioned party, for example, etc. So in that regards, I doubt that this is a concern. However, it's a good note to always consider compliance checks in these interactions. So thank you for bringing this up, and we'll take this up in case there's anything we can improve in our internal, let's say, systems for this subject. All right. What else do we have? Do we have anything from chat? There's a request from Utero also saying, please don't name your horse Epona. That's the name he's going to use in the future. It's in the testnet, so even worst case scenario, that name gets taken. I hope not. You're going to have another chance at the minute. Utero saying April 2025 would be good. Our launch will be based on technical stability. If the market happens to be in favor at the time of launch, well, so be it. If it doesn't happen to be, we'll take the time to build up. We don't see the game launch or the game as a project, even as a splash that should just make some waves and disappear. We hope not after all these years of building. We see this more of a project that should sustain a long lifetime, hopefully. In the same vein as sports games and online games that actually sustain multiple generations and years, if not decades, of a lifetime. So we're hoping that we can maintain, let's say, this kind of objective. So even if this launches before the, let's say, crypto market, for example, has an uptick, it would still be a chance for us to keep growing our operations, keep growing our user acquisition, and keep growing our ecosystem. there's looking for a big marketing splash for the launch. Yes, absolutely. I think our marketing team have had a great chance for building up a lot of plans and strategies, and it's an ongoing effort always. But I think launches are always important to build campaigns around. So we are also looking forward to that. With that answered, I think it's a chance to thank everyone again for the continued support. We are 1 month ahead and 1 month ahead in progress. We have an invitational happening in 2 weeks, hopefully, fingers crossed. We will keep you updated as usual to the outcomes. Everyone who's joining, good luck to you in the participation. If you haven't set up your pre-production testnet wallet, please do so. I think some members maybe were not reachable, so please make sure that you reach out to the team if you haven't, and make sure that you're ready in that regard, as we will be sending out the horses once we have all that ready. And yeah, good luck to you in the Invitational. I look forward to hosting that event with you all live on the beta. And this is Fahad signing out.
Thank you, everyone.